Coming up on today's edition of Airborne, who gets the nod for ANN's Best Plane of the Year for 2012? Michael Huerta is no longer an acting administrator, and Solar Impulse plans a U.S. transcontinental flight for this summer. These stories and more on today's edition of Airborne. I'm Ashley Hale, and welcome to 2013. Well, with 2012 still fresh in our memories, it's time for ANN to unveil our annual Best of Breed for 2012, which recognizes the top aircraft in a number of specific categories. This year's award winner for the best of the best is a solidly built little four-seater built by a trustworthy company. We speak specifically of the Diamond Aircraft DA40 XLS. It's an outstanding GA airplane with one of the most impressive safety records in recent times. With a modern glass cockpit and digital autopilot now available, the 150-knot DA40 XLS has a 720 nautical mile range at 75% power, burning all of 10 gallons per hour. Best of all, though, the aircraft is built by Diamond Aircraft, a company with solid management and an uncommon vision. Diamond should have a solid future ahead of it with the upcoming DA52, which is possibly one of the most exciting planes on the known piston horizon, and the eventual entry into the single-engine jet market. Diamond Aircraft is equipped to survive and be around to support its customer base. So congratulations to the Diamond Aircraft DA40 XLS, ANN's Best of the Year for 2012. And for all of our Best of Breed selections, log on to www.aero-news.net. Well, there were no long drawn-out hearings and pointed questions that often make up the political theater surrounding the confirmation of a presidential appointee. But on Tuesday, the U.S. Senate approved Michael Huerta to be the FAA administrator. Huerta was named acting administrator over a year ago when Randy Babbitt was arrested on a charge of driving under the influence, a charge that was later dropped. Huerta will now hold the position for at least 5 years. Huerta's confirmation had been held up by the South Carolina Republican Senator Jim Campbell, who, according to Politico, had expressed issues with Huerta's labor policies. Campbell also wanted to be sure that if Mitt Romney had been elected president, the Republican will be able to appoint the person he wanted as FAA administrator. However, when President Obama was re-elected, Campbell dropped his objections and the confirmation went forward. While nothing yet has been set in stone, the United States may get its first close-up look at the Solar Impulse solar-powered airplane in 2013. The Solar Impulse team confirms on its website that plans are in the works for a flight from California to New York City by way of Washington, D.C. this year. According to the site, Bertrand Piccard and Andre Borschberg, along with Marketing and Communications Director Gregory Blatt, have been meeting with government officials and agencies in an effort to move the flight forward. At an event at the Swiss Embassy in Washington, D.C. earlier this month, Ambassador Manuel Sager hinted at a possible time frame, saying, quote, "We are very happy to support the flight from the west to the east coast of the United States in the early summer of 2013, end quote. The Solar Impulse team said on their website that a flight across the U.S. would be, quote, "a great occasion to bring our message to a country which is in the forefront of innovation and pioneering spirit. And we are all very excited about the prospect of being able to share these values with a country that embraces our own DNA," end quote. More details will be released as they become available. With 2012 still squarely in the rearview mirror, NBAA President and CEO Ed Bolen warned his members that they would need to be as vigilant as ever in the coming year. In a statement on the organization's website, Bolen noted the potential for the reemergence of user fees as a possible revenue raiser. He also expressed concern over potential changes to the depreciation schedule for business aircraft, saying NBAA strongly opposes any lengthening of depreciation schedules, as that will likely discourage investment in business aviation, along with the need to target specific issues for advocacy by NBAA and its members in 2013. Bolen said it will be important to continue to tell lawmakers about the importance of business aviation to the nation's economy. Telling that story has been and will remain the central focus of the No Plane, No Gain advocacy campaign, jointly sponsored by NBAA and the General Aviation Manufacturers Association. The FAA has authorized a TSO along with AML STC approval for the Garmin GDL 88 series. The GDL 88 is the industry's first dual-link ADS-B solution, available for certified aircraft. With the AML STC, the GDL 88 is approved for installation on most Part 23 fixed-wing aircraft, and it will begin shipping immediately, starting at $3,995. According to Garmin's website, the GDL 88 provides a simple, rule-compliant solution for aircraft operating in the U.S. and below 18,000 feet. The GDL 88 also brings the added benefit of access to advanced traffic information and a subscription to free weather for aircraft flying any altitude. The innovative dual-link capability allows the GDL 88 to receive both the 978 MHz UAT and 1090 MHz frequency bands to provide the most comprehensive level of traffic situational awareness. You're watching Airborne. More when we come back in just a moment.
Since the early days of powered flight, pilots have struggled with landing in crosswinds and learning proper crosswind landing techniques. Even today, most crosswind landing skills are learned through trial and error, sometimes with disastrous results. Believe it or not, the most common contributing factor in weather-related accidents each year is crosswinds. The second most common factor is wind gusts. In fact, crosswinds and wind gusts cause more landing accidents than fog, thunderstorms, and icing combined. That's where the Redbird X-Wind SE comes in. It teaches pilots the proper techniques to meet and beat these top two causes of weather-related landing accidents. By placing pilots in gusty crosswind conditions for extended periods of time, the X-Wind SE gives instructors all the time they need to teach the pilot the proper techniques for landing in challenging crosswind conditions. For more information on Redbird flight simulations, the Redbird X-Wind SE, and Redbird's entire line of flight training devices, visit www.redbirdflightsimulations.com.
Welcome back. If you'd like to suggest a story for Airborne, Aero-TV, our website, or podcast, drop us an email to news-by@aero-news.net. A C-160 Transall military transport plane, on its way to becoming a museum display, missed its final approach and landed short, very close to a group of spectators who had come to see the plane's arrival. According to a report appearing online in the Blaze, the incident happened in Bolen, Germany. Nearly 1,000 people had gathered near the runway threshold to watch the plane land. A video posted on YouTube shows the plane on approach, but the pilot apparently got behind the power curve and the plane touched its main gear on a road just beyond the runway threshold. There were several onlookers within just a few feet of where the plane touched the ground. The aircraft continues onto the runway, and there were no injuries associated with the incident. The German newspaper Bild reports that the incident would not be investigated as the 44-year-old airplane was being decommissioned and would not be flying again. The incident reportedly actually took place back in October, but the video has just now begun to go viral, according to the Blaze. A Russian Tu-204 jetliner skidded off the runway after landing, broke apart and caught fire at a Moscow airport on Saturday. The airplane, which belonged to charter airline Red Wings, had only crew on board at the time of the accident. 5 of the 8 people on the plane were fatally injured, including the pilot, the co-pilot, the flight engineer, and 2 flight attendants. There was light snowfall reported at the airport at the time of the accident. The French news service AFP reports that Russian investigators were focusing on the Tu-204's brakes. In a televised news conference, Russian Federal Air Transport Agency Chief Alexander Narodko said that the pilots had reportedly applied full brakes when the airplane landed, but, quote, for some reason, the airplane failed to stop. Most likely the cause was defective reverse engines or brakes, end quote. The airplane's cockpit, voice, and flight data recorders have been recovered for analysis. The 8 crew members on board were reportedly deadheading back from a charter flight from the Czech Republic. Nobody is quite sure what it is, but a UFO was allegedly captured on video by a passenger on an airline flying from New York to Houston December 19th. The video has been forwarded to the FAA for examination. The person recording the video, Mauricio Ruiz, places his hand by the window on the aircraft in an attempt to show that the light is not a reflection from inside the airplane. Some of the shots are fairly clear, but the object blinks out suddenly as if a light were turned off. There are skeptics, however. Ruiz has already posted 26 videos to YouTube, many of them on the subjects of UFOs. Ruiz commented on his own video, saying, quote, granted, it could be anything from a distance. However, the footage is real, and it is now in the hands of the FAA. I do not want anyone else to handle this until the FAA returns their input. Please give me time. Many have requested interviews and the actual footage. UFOologists, please be patient. Thanks, end quote. There has been no independent corroboration of the sighting from anyone else aboard the Southwest flight from LaGuardia to Houston. The sighting reportedly occurred in the Chicago area. Finally, today on Airborne, pilot David Jetliner was returning to his home in Glades County, Florida from North Carolina in his personal airplane and decided to fly over and take a look at his house from the air. Much to his surprise, he observed an unfamiliar silver truck with a white camper in his driveway and decided to lower his altitude to get a closer look. He then saw a man looking into the windows of his home who apparently was assured no one was home. He then attached the pilot's red trailer to his truck and took off out of his driveway. The pilot followed the thief towards I-75 in Lee County, Florida, and called the law. The Lee County Sheriff's Aviation Unit picked up the chase. They located the truck and trailer on I-75 heading into Charlotte County and gave directions to ground units who soon made a traffic stop on I-75 and detained the man driving a 2002 Toyota Tundra 4x4 pickup and pulling the stolen red trailer. While pilot David Jetliner went to the scene and reclaimed his trailer, Charlotte County Sheriff's officers arrested Gary Robert Haynes, 59, of Stafford, Virginia. Haynes' pickup was impounded, and a search found a loaded rifle and bullets on the floorboard. Haynes was arrested for grand theft and taken to the Charlotte County Jail. He was released Monday morning on $2,500 bond. His truck was seized for forfeiture, and the Glades County Sheriff's Office detectives are still investigating the theft and the weapons found in Haynes' pickup. Get comprehensive, real-time, 24/7 coverage of the latest aviation and aerospace stories anytime at Aero-News.net. I'm Ashley Hale, and thanks for watching.